Hi, I'm Todd Clippinger, and welcome to the American Craftsman Workshop. Today I'm emptying my Dust Deputy Cyclone bucket. Now, this is kind of a big deal because I only have to empty it about every 3 to 4 months. The last time that I emptied it was basically on New Year's, and today is March 29th, so there's a good full 3 months there. I'm using my Dust Deputy professionally, and I'm not just a straight cabinet shop, but I do use my shop professionally as a remodeling contractor. I'm often making things specific for my jobs, and I have a couple projects. I've been working in the shop pretty steadily for the last couple of months. Now, I'm going to give you a quick rundown on my setup. Now that you know how I use it professionally, and typically what you'll find is that I'm using it with my 6-inch random orbital sander, my 8-inch random orbital sander, my small Porter cable belt sander, my Bosch belt sander. Also, I will typically use this with the Festool Domino and also my biscuit joiner. And typically, those are the machines that I have it hooked up to. Primarily, I'm using it most all the time with my random orbital sander. And guys, that is one machine that generates a lot of dust. If you're collecting your dust straight off of your random orbital sanders, you will dramatically decrease the amount of dust that you're creating in your shop. So what I have is I have the Cyclone, the plastic unit, hooked to a 5-gallon bucket as per the instructions, the way that it's pictured and sold. I hooked up some PVC parts, PVC plumbing parts to it that just friction fit to the top. And towards the end, for the final connection to my rigid shop vac, I use just a little section of the flexible hose because it's nice to have a flexible fitting right at the end. And so that's my typical setup. Now, that rigid shop vac does not accept bags, and that was one of the big pluses of buying the Cyclone, because the particles, the dust particles, settle out, and it keeps the filter from getting plugged up. I used to have to continually clean that filter out, even if the bucket wasn't full, because the fine dust from the random orbital sanders would plug the filter media in a very short time. So it is purchasing the Cyclone, the Dust Deputy Cyclone, and using that separator action has dramatically decreased my labor in cleaning the filters on the shop vac. So also what I have is I'm using, I have a couple different hoses, but one that I use most all the time and hooks to such a large variety of machines is the Festool hose. And it plugs right onto the Dust Deputy Cyclone, and it either stuffs in or fits over a lot of the tools that I use in the shop. So there's a little secret there is they don't tell you is that the Festool hose hooks to a lot of tools other than Festool, and it's well worth the money. Now, to keep it from tipping over, I didn't build a cart or anything. As you'll see, typically I have a tool chest that stands right here. But the Dust Deputy bucket, what I've done is I had a bucket of framing nails. So I just keep the bucket of framing nails. This sits inside the bucket of framing nails and keeps from tipping over, and that's all I really need. I can pull this out a little bit if I have to, but because I have this old government style desk from a remodel project that I did, and I scavenged that out of an old office building that I worked on, my shop vac sits underneath of that and stores under there just fine. So I don't really drag this around the shop, so I've not at this time built a nice cart for it or anything, because this pretty much just sits here all the time, because I typically have my workbench here, and I do all my assembly right here. I've moved my bench off to the side so I could record this. But the sanders and stuff, they're right behind me here on the desk, and I just use them, and I use them at this position and all over this table. So the whole Dust Deputy Cyclone setup doesn't really move from here, so I don't have it on a special cart. So let me go ahead and pull the bucket out and the shop vac and set it on the table, and we're going to open those up, and I want to share that with you because we want to see just how much dust over 3 months has gathered inside the bucket and how much of it's passed on to the filter inside the shop vac. You know, the more full that this gets, the more of that dust goes on and passes to the shop vac. So Let me pull these up on the table and resituate the cameras, and we're going to take a look and see. All right, guys, we're going to pop these open and take a look at them. Now, there's one more thing that I do want to share with you. I told you about the tools that I typically have hooked up to the Dust Deputy Cyclone. And what I didn't share with you, though, is I use a Craftsman electronic switch. So when I trigger on my sander or the biscuit joint or whatever tool that I'm using, it automatically turns on the shop vac. And then once I'm done running that tool, it continues to run for about 5 more seconds after the shop vac will continue to run for about 5 more seconds after I turn the tool off. And typically you can get these at Sears. It's a Craftsman electronic tool switch. And basically it turns on a secondary tool once you start operating the primary tool. And so that's what I use to turn my shop vac on, because it sits underneath the desk. And also, I bought this. Dust Deputy did not pay me. Oneida Systems did not pay me to say any of this. This is my raw opinion. So first of all, let's open up the bucket and see. It's pretty full. I can feel it. So here's the inside of the bucket, and you can kind of just see that I have a wood ring. So when I screwed the Cyclone on, it acts as a washer to reinforce the lid and give it a little more rigidity. Man, this bucket is full. I'm going to shake this down, see exactly what we got here. So we're at least 2/3, 3/4 full, and that is just all fine dust. That's dust that's collected over. This is kind of bad. I got the dust flying in the air now, and I'm just getting over pneumonia. So anyways, this bucket's about 3/4 full, 2/3 full at least, and that's been collecting for about 3 months. So what's going to be really interesting is to see what the inside of the shop vac looks like, because the more full this gets, then it starts getting spilled over and sucked into the shop vac. Or I should say rigid shop vacuum. Don't want to violate any copyright laws and trademarks. Oh, this is excellent. So there's only a trace of dust inside my rigid shop vacuum, and the filter media is actually, it has a coating of light dust on it, but it's not bad. Now, I wouldn't have very much dust in the bucket, and I would have to clean the filter out, because it would be just so packed with the fine dust that the random orbital sander generates. So this is excellent. 3 months and a very light, there's virtually no dust in here, to speak of no collectible amount. And the filter media is just coated, but I would say not covered. And there's actually still a lot of strong suction off the shop vac at this point. So that's kind of it. Anyways, guys, I do have one thing that I guess negative to say about the Dust Deputy, and it's that no, it's not something negative. It's actually one regret that I have, and that is that I didn't buy the steel model. I didn't know that they had a steel model, and I would say if you're going to get one, I would prefer to have the steel Dust Deputy and the steel bucket. That's my biggest regret. It's really not a knock on them at all. Now, I have seen a couple times in different forms where the tops, one of my big concern was that this top might come off, and I've seen people had complained about that, but also what I had seen was that Dust Deputy or Oneida Systems had replaced those without a problem. Now, results and complaints may vary, and sometimes you got to take that with a grain of salt on the internet. So certainly keep that in mind. I've had great results with my Dust Deputy. I highly recommend it. I'll tell you what, for what I paid, this thing has saved me a ton of time in cleaning out the filter of my shop vacuum. And the bad thing was this one does not accept a bag, and I would be filling these bags up, and they're kind of expensive. So now all I got to do is once in a while, once every 3 to 4 months, I'm emptying the bucket and I clean out the filter on my rigid shop vacuum, and that's it. So really, the money I've spent on this has saved me a lot of time and labor in the shop, and it's well worth the money. Well, that's a quick rundown on the Dust Deputy, and because I rarely have to open it, I just wanted to share that with you. I hope that you find this helpful and informative, and until next time, be safe in your own shop.